Hey. So is that not clear enough for you? Respectfully, shut up. Everybody, oh, you guys are popping off. Yeah, I will get into it since you couldn't download it. I looked and saw the video. It was like sideways. It played sideways. You might need to update your Java. I don't know. But it works on, he says to shut up. Yes, it was just all about this. No. Respectfully, shut up. Not at all about this. Just, that's what I should probably have just titled everything today. Respectfully, shut up. So, who's a big history buff? Who knows their history fairly well and knows, particularly American history? Because we're going to be getting into that, a whole lot of that for the next couple of classes, particularly. And then probably end, the last class. I'm sort of thinking about titling What's So Great About the American Way, but I feel like that's a little too provocateur. But I figure I probably actually will anyway. So, U.S. history. In March 1845, the U.S. acquired, it's a good way to put it, the U.S. acquired a new president. Does anybody know? Sound off. James K. Polk was our president after 1845. This is how he was reported. The following is a list of things that the, what should I call it? What word should I use to describe this as? The following is a list that he was known for. These are actual in 1845. These are the actual writings in publications and things at the time. So James K. Polk, president, was a forceful, aggressive political outsider intent on strengthening his country and his country alone, and asserting its preeminence in front of other world leaders and powers, particularly Mexico and Great Britain. Within a year of his inauguration, President Polk declared full-on war with Mexico over what? A border in Texas. He was also picking a fight with Britain over the ownership of Oregon. He was very staunchly pro-slavery, like just hardcore pro-slavery. Here's another writing. So very pro-slavery, believed in that. He was a popular / populist president, admired by many for his gung-ho manner and uncouthness. He wasn't your typical politician. He was considered an outsider, wasn't well-versed. He said what he meant. He said what he thought, all of that. A quote of the time was that he was also, so he was a vigorous defender of slavery. He believed that slavery was good for business, good for the American people, and good for the American free market economy. So he dismissed, this was a quote at the time about like slavery and the American free market. At the time, he didn't say this, but let me read the quote first. So it says, the free market American economy is built on the back, blood, sweat, and tears of the Negro, and we must maintain slavery as it's good and benefits the country. Picture it this way. Polk didn't say that. President Polk didn't say that. But if he was alive today, he'd like retweet that quote. Like if he was alive today and hypothetically on Twitter, he'd retweet that quote. He dismissed any sort of abolitionist arguments at the time, he dismissed them as naive and sentimental. So he basically called anyone that said we should abolish slavery, called them SJWs and snowflakes. And basically, probably if he was alive today, as would be slavery, he'd probably rant and rave about abolitionists and cancel culture, hypothetically, and talk about how abolitionists, they just want to cancel slavery. So, populist president, admired by many for his gung-ho manner and uncouthness. If I didn't read any of that about Polk, would you know I was talking about a president of our past? If I attached the, attached this a little later. I know it was kind of a, where is it? Why is it not on here? There we go. I know that I attached it on there a little late, but like things like that. If I didn't read James K. Polk's name, would you have known it was Polk? This is kind of that weird sense of history doesn't repeat itself, but maybe it rhymes, maybe it looks similar. Descriptions of a president that way. Similar sort of thing. If I read a list of if I read the 14, I attached, and it's written, the post was written in 2013, or not even 2013, 2004. We were talking about fascism. We were talking about very strong nationalism, authoritative governments, etc., etc. If I just read the 14 points and you didn't know it was fascism, if it was just something that was, yeah, exactly. If it was just something, powerful and continuing nationalism, if I just said, someone's running a campaign on powerful and continuing nationalism, maybe lauding Mount Rushmore, maybe always embracing the flag, maybe pissed at anybody that says anything negative about the country, a disdain for the recognition of human rights, maybe that need for something else, looking for enemies, maybe on the left, continuing to divide, maybe looking at, if you don't shape up your country, your state, we're going to step in and do it for you because our guys can do it. Pro-military. We need a return to traditional gender norms, things like that. If we called the press something like what Hitler used to call it, the Lügenpresse, that's how he used to refer to the press at the time. Hitler called them the Lügenpresse. What that means in German is lying press, or AKA if we want to update it. If Lügenpresse was German and it was written and we wanted to update it to the Message Bible, we'd probably call it fake news. But, Hitler called the same thing. So, all of those things, religion and government intertwined. If a president was running on those things and you did not know it was fascism, would you be like, yeah, that would kind of work, right? Kind of win us over. The point I'm trying to make is we are seeing continual movements, right? So much reminds us of today. Yeah. What's interesting, Elliot, too, is how you're talking about switching and stuff. Just look up what Democrats stood for. Look up what Republicans stood for, even as recent as the 50s. And you'll see strong social welfare programs. The only thing that we should probably get into that next class. Yeah. Anyway, so we'll touch on switch of ideologies, more than likely next class, and what we can see historically if we're just looking. It's kind of like, here's the thing, and this is what I want to get at. It's why I started this section of chapter 6 with that This Is America music video. Because how much your brain picks up on, how much you sense. It's such a feeling, intuitive thing, and your brain picks up on it, and we need to recognize that historically, and I think we just need to see it. So this is Polk. Henry David Thoreau. If you read him in school, he was famous for writing Walden, and that whole thing about transcendentalism and going off and living in the woods and living on your own. He influenced the lead character of My Side of the Mountain, which was one of those things. Yeah, they do. That I read as a kid. So Henry David Thoreau was a pretty famous author at the time. He was vehemently opposed, not just to Polk, but to the whole administration, I would say. Just the whole thing up there. He was already famous, but he wrote in 1849 the essay Civil Disobedience. This is where we get that. At its heart, at the heart of the essay, lay the question, what should an honest man do about a president, or let's say a staff, or cabinet, or appointees, or we could just call it all in all an administration? What should an honest citizen do about an administration they wholeheartedly oppose? And see, here's the thing. The prevailing view at the time was that because Polk won a majority, or was put into power by those he chose, those who were against him, anybody that was against Polk that lost, right, should fall silent. And those who did not choose either should do the same. No critique of your government, really. Respectfully, shut up. This was the view and the predominant mindset at the time. Why are you complaining? There's always next election. Just vote. You lost. Your side lost. So respectfully shut up. Put away your views. And just wait till next election. And here we see the further a pendulum swings. This is very Hegelian. The further the pendulum swings one way, the further we will see it respond by swinging the other way. The more it goes one side, the more it'll swing to the other side when it has the opportunity. This was the issue Thoreau wished to deconstruct, though. It was often said that it should be the duty of a good citizen to fold away their objections and just respect the will of the majority, whether they're that silent majority, floating under the surface, ready to bring down the Titanic, or whatever you call them. Just respect the will of the majority. That's what a good citizen should do. And this was the issue Thoreau wished to really deconstruct and upturn. Why? Because he said true patriots were not those who blindly followed their administration. No, they were those who followed their own consciences, what we would call their own personal ethics, specifically reason. For Thoreau, he was as much combating this ideology as he was of Polk. For Thoreau, he knew what the First Amendment actually meant. For him, it was, hey, how are we to respond? See, if the prevailing notion at the time was that thing, just lock them away, shh, just shut up until it's next time to vote. Wow, that's quite a start to that afternoon special. For access to the full video, or to get the full course, or just support me making new content that has everything or nothing to do with what you just watched, head on over to my Patreon, link in the bio. Join the community. I'd love to see you there and have you become a part of something bigger than me, but something where I can play my part just the same. See you there.